Yes. Good evening.
What a freak.
I'm going to start this meeting. We have a full quorum today, and I'm going to ask Chris to say the opening prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father God, we thank you for this beautiful evening where we can come together. We pray for our council as they come to do some business. We pray, God, that you would lead them, you would guide them, you would fill them with your wisdom. God, we pray for our community. God, we thank you that spring has sprung, and we pray, God, for the next several months to be times of prosperity, to be times of health for its residents, to be times of open doors with the province and other opportunities. We pray, God, that you would smooth roads. We pray that you would open doors. We pray, God, that you would provide for us as we move ahead here over these next several months. We pray that you would be with us in this place tonight. Bless us, we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Item 3 in the agenda is motion to approve the agenda. I need a motion. Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, approval of minutes of previous council meetings. 4A is the regular meeting of council, March 14, 2022. Are there any questions? No questions? I need a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4B, closed meeting of council, March 18, 2022. Any questions?
There's a typo. The statement says here that it was on March, the meeting was on March 17th, and we're saying that it's March 18th. We should
Yes,
correct, we should
it is
correct that.
Yeah. So what?
Yes, may recall Councillor Ellison was sort of agreeing on that.
That's right, she was. She had little patty, little St. Patty on. The minutes are wrong. The minutes are right, but the date, the council
Okay.
meeting is wrong on the 18th.
So the minutes are right, and
Yes.
so noted that they are
The
right.
typo is on the.
Yeah, on the agenda. Yeah. So any other question? No. Motion to approve. All in favor?
The last one.
And item 4C, closed meeting of council, April 7, 2022. Any questions? No questions? Motion to approve? All in favor? Any conflicts of interest declarations? No conflicts presented, so noted. Delegations. I will have Marianne Langmaid. What is Trevor?
We want to transfer her.
It's not here yet, so I guess I can actually move to the next the general reports, and we'll try to put her after the general reports. So item 7A, the agenda, general government report. Jason.
General government report for the month of March. The lower bridge sewage installation work, we're still talking about this. We had some agreement on closing the lower bridge to replace the installation on our sewage line. However, we're still waiting a final okay from Department of Transportation. Right now, I've requested that they have a direct contact with us for engineering for the scaffolding work. The reason to close that bridge is sort of because of a bridge closed due to traffic. The scaffolding itself won't see that weight. We just now need to have the province agree to that, and then we can move on to actually getting this work done. This is, as you may recall, this has been in discussion for months now. So we hopefully can complete this year. For dangerous unsightly properties, we have one file that's on postponement, and we have one file that's received a permit for demolition. However, waiting for that work to complete. And we are also, we have an new open file with another property. Capital projects, that's to be discussed later tonight. We've completed our list for capital work for this year. And we'll be putting out tendering invites for some of that work. And then this week, Canal Beach, another project delay. Really right now we're waiting for the final approval with the Wawa permit. That's being wetlands permit. And certainly this is not on the province. This could be maybe a little more related to the project management. And once that's cleared, we hope to have everything underway. That's with the new sewage system, new building, and new well. That's certainly the priorities of this project. So stay tuned for more of an official announcement, and hopefully have an event, sort of a sod turning event out in Canal. Well number 2, we're working on improvements to well number 2. That's the well near the Day Adventure Center. But we're going to leave the natural gas component of that project, natural gas generator, just because of the cost of everything that we priced last year has gone up, 10-15% at least. So we want to make sure we have enough to actually complete the work. And if the generator is good, then we'll get that at the end. The Goody, the groundwater under the direction and influence study, it's a topic on tonight's agenda as well. The walking trail, that's the walking trail that's going to stretch from Riverview Avenue using the old train line. So the tendering has been completed for that. Working with the Service Commission on that project, part of the Coastal Link Trail. And we hope to have a project meeting on this probably this month, and then a groundbreaking ceremony hopefully in May. So a couple good groundbreaking ceremonies here this year. Pickleball and tennis courts. There's been some great local fundraising efforts by the players of the pickleball group to resurface the courts, and they'll likely be addressing council in May's meeting. We will be installing a porta potty at the pickleball this year at the courts up there. JO Spinney Drive. We're going to continue to do some improvements, and these improvements are mostly earmarked from the 2 cents regional cost sharing, recreational cost sharing that we're getting as a town. So we certainly have to show some improvements. So one thing we are looking at doing is lighting for the courts that are out here, the basketball courts, as well as some work on the baseball field, and splash pad, and as well the building here in general. Just making sure that we're not just taking that 2 cents and not actually doing something, but actually improving the recreation area here. Day Adventure Center. So this year seems like there's been a lot of good interest with the Day Adventure Center. As of today, all the buildings are spoke for, and whereas we work through agreements with some of these tenants, we hope to have them in place by the end of this month. I've got a couple, smaller giftware retail. There's some promotional items. A woman that's going to be doing some promotional items, and Karma will be going back into one of the buildings again. And of course, the Girl Guides have been using one of the buildings. So yeah, it looks like that may get used. We'll see once some of the people get in the buildings, doing some renovations, and see what they actually think, anything long term. We are completing the annual audit. We had auditors at the town hall last week, and they've completed everything on site. So now they're taking their work off site, and we hope to have them present to council likely in the month of June. Road repairs and site work. We continue to pack some of the potholes that we have here in the town, and continue to repair, and we'll continue to repair and do some patchwork to some of the areas once the asphalt plants open in this month. Development housing. We've completed some of the work on the lot that's out at exit 52. That's the commercial lot. The apartment RFP, the proposal off of Brunswick, still working with the potential developer on that, as well as a developer in the adjacent lot. And we're also working with a developer on Hillside Drive housing there. Just have some items to work through with regards to drainage for that housing area. As some of you may be aware, with CHCO, we're working with them, doing some promotional videos for the town, both in like off season, like winter, spring, and more in season as well for summertime. Community garden has been open for intake, and it's been a lot of good interest this year as well. So again, I think there's been some renewed interest in doing the community garden. So a few things planned, certainly to get a porta potty installed there, as well as replace some garden tools and hose. We'll be part of the capital improvements projects. We'll be putting new shingles on the gazebo on Main Street. As far as residents' complaints, we've had a number of complaints regarding ATVs on the walking trail. Just to remind residents and non-residents that ATVs are not permitted on the trails. We do have signs there, but can't put a sign on every tree, unfortunately. We've had some complaints and concerns around dangerous unsightly premises, and been handling those case by case. And someone found a syringe down at the park area of Eagle's Nest. We just remind residents and non-residents that they find those, certainly can either contact the RCMP or contact the town hall. We have methods of disposing of that and take care of that. So, as of right now, as far as on the front of local government reform, we're still working through with the new ND 53, basically collection of possible names for the new entity. And that's all I have.
So you cover item A and B?
Did I just do A and B with local government reform? Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
Just questions? I have one question on the 2 cents that you mentioned that we are going to try to create against the recreation allocation from the Service Commission. Is that tagged for capital projects, or it can be like even for paying the power for this building?
Yeah, it wouldn't be tied to capital. It'd be to just operations and improvements.
Okay, operation improvements. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question?
I noticed that on the general report that we were going to charge the 200 a month, but we did in fact agree to go for nothing for this year.
That's correct.
So we should probably say that, put
Yep.
that on the record.
Yeah, for the Day of Interest Center,
Yes.
there's no rent
Yeah,
for the
for this
tenants.
year,
The
yeah.
tenants are just under the agreement to pay for the electrical
The
power.
electrical and any improvements they want to make.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I will move on to item 7C, fire report.
Thank you. I noticed a typo in mine as well. Should be for the month of March. Sorry. We had 6 incidents. 1 MVA, 2 mutual aids, 2 grass fires, and 1 rubbish fire. So not a whole lot for the month of March. Training, firefighter 1 continues. We've got about 3 weeks left of that. As far as the classroom component, then we'll start our practical components. We had an in-house refresher on the regional fire dispatch and the TMR radio operations about a week ago, just to refresh the skills. Now that we've had them for a few weeks, we're starting to identify some of the pros and cons and how to work around them. As I mentioned last month, I was going to be attending. I did go attend the New Brunswick Fire Service Training Advisory Committee meeting in Fredericton, and I have another one that I'll be going to next month. And last month, we were working on the new version of the Firefighter One program that will be rolling out next year. As far as equipment, I do have some updates on that. At the time I wrote the report, I hadn't gotten any response for my request for pricing for more TMR equipment. Since then, DTI has reached out to me, and also one of the private companies has given me prices for accessories. While they can't provide the radios, they can provide accessories. So I'll be working on acquiring some of that stuff over the coming weeks. And as I mentioned, I gave up my TMR radio to one of the other drivers to try and get more of them into service during the day. And we got our wildland equipment out and ready to go as well. So far, so good. We've had nice days followed by rainy days, followed by nice days, which helps keep the fires down and get things greened up. And the more rainy days we have, the less fires we have. But it hasn't been so much that it is starting to dry up a bit, and which is good. We don't want it too wet. So I guess that's the highlights of what I had for last month. Anybody's got any questions? I'll do my best to answer them. I do. We're making improvements. I'm still working out some bugs with that, but yes, we do have it.
I do have a question around the grass fires. It appears to be a seasonal situation that we have, and I don't know if it's just this area or if it's everywhere, but is there a penalty program that we have for individuals who insist on burning grass?
Not all fires are illegal. If you live outside of town, you can be permitted to burn. Though most of the fires don't fall into that situation, and most of the fires don't really fall under our jurisdiction. They would fall under the Department of Natural Resources, and they certainly have some quite hefty fines if you are caught and can be proven to be the one. And we have I've worked with them in the past, and there have been gains made. Maybe no charges laid, but I notice a difference in certain areas that you would be guaranteed would be burnt by now that aren't. But yeah, I mean, it is seasonal. Of course, this is the time of year where grass will burn. This area had notoriously a lot more fires than other parts of the province, probably the most per capita at times. That seems to be subsiding. Part of it is to do with our climate here. We tend to lose our snow very early, which allows the grass to be exposed and dry out. I mean, in other parts of the province, they still have snow. Once that snow goes, it turns green, and there's really a very short window for that to happen. Here you can have grass fires in February right through till May. I think that's part of the reason why we have. So there's just so much opportunity, and it's a cultural thing too. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody burnt the field. The fire department used to go around and burn them for them. So we're just, little by little, it is receding. The numbers that we're having are less and less every year. Just like the fires we have at Halloween, dumpster fires. There's a long list of those type of things that were, I won't say arson, but intentionally lit for sport or whatever, seem to be receding over time.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Building and Plan Report, Southwestern Public Service Commission. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I know Alex tonight, filling in again. I'll go through the report and do my best to answer any questions. So last time I was here, we were talking about the background study for the municipal plan, and we're basically proposing that it's a good time to host a community workshop. We can do things in person. We can get some more feedback from the community on that. And we'll just work with Jason and anybody else to get that scheduled in the pretty near future. We have received, I think Jason mentioned, rezoning application for 57 Brunswick Street. We're still waiting on the actual plans from the developer before we go any further with it, but looks like an apartment project, which is always good news. Jason also mentioned the Hillside subdivision, and we're working on a policy, actually we finished it, that has to do with private access subdivisions and sort of street layout. So what sort of a more kind of systematic way of going through those types of subdivisions. Not a ton of development happening. There's been 2 new permits issued, one which was a demolition permit, so kind of breaking even right there. So far in 2022, the total value of construction is $10,000. And as has been mentioned, there are several things in the works, which will be bigger projects, which is obviously good news. And I'm working on a project, I might have mentioned it the last time I was here, about housing data more generally for the region. And that work is being completed right now by a firm we've gotten to do that work. And we did a focus group in Eastern Charlotte with the St. John Human Development Council. That's part of that work as well. I don't know if anybody heard about that or attended it, specifically for vulnerable populations. And I think tonight there's just taking care of some older business. You're going to set the date for public hearing and get request views of PRAC for a sign variance that Vivian worked on, which I think you spoke about last time. And besides that, I think that's it for me. So I'm happy to answer questions as best I can.
A few months ago with the other Alex, he mentioned that there was supposed to be like a plan in place for bike lanes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you remember this? No, there was like a possible plan for bike lanes.
It might have been part of the private access policy that he's working on. So it's as far as I know, unless this is related to the Coastal Link Trail project, I don't think it is. It would be for new roads and subdivisions, sort of new standards for including bike lanes and more pedestrian space and things like that. I think that's all I would know about.
All right. Thank you.
I have one question because I was involved with our CEO in some discussions about the new subdivision. I'd like to know, in general, in this province, how the requirements for flood protection, drainage are set with respect to what is the kind of storm that is the baseline or that they're using.
Right. There's not, I mean, for road construction, there's certain engineering standards for culvert size and base material and things like that. I don't think those have really been updated for climate change as far as I know. I know there's some work going on. Eastern Charlotte Waterways, they've done, I think, some work on, you can go on their data viewer and see culverts that need to be expanded and things like that. In regards to more general drainage, there's vague clauses in the Community Planning Act around not allowing development on land that is too marshy for development. And I have seen, and I can't remember if it's something that's required in St. George, but I know in other municipalities, before a new building, not necessarily like a small shed or something like it, but a new house or certainly commercial development is built that's involving grading, that you do need to have a drainage plan showing that that's not going to cause problems for neighbors. But that's kind of it. There's not any, there's no provincial acts or regulations that deal with it outside of the Clean Water Act, and that's really more about ecological protection.
Supplementary to that is, if there are no standards by the province,
Mm-hmm.
on what basis a development can be stopped, delayed, because who may have concerns about the size of culverts?
I mean, really, the culverts are something that is, if it's outside of a municipality, that's totally DTI's jurisdiction. And, you know, I know in some cases they are involved in municipalities too. Here, I think it would, you know, we get municipal approval. We do look to the municipality to give us a yes or no on development. And I believe that's one of the things they're looking at is the infrastructure there suitable for it? So that's part of the municipal approval check that we do. So I think that's the point at where it's caught. And I know there's, you know, all over the province, all over the country, in fact, where there's a lot of infrastructure that needs upgrading because the rains are getting heavier. You know, you have more periods between dry and wet. So it's definitely something that needs to be monitored very closely moving forward.
Okay. Any other question? Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Water and sewage report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Water wastewater report for the month of March. Average daily water consumption for March was 280,580 imperial gallons for a total of 8,000,069 imperial gallons. There's no total coliform or E. coli reported. Well levels are good. Chlorine pumps have been like sewage pumps this year. We've had many problems with them. At well number 3 in particular, this model is getting old now, and we are changing to a new model which requires changes to the SCADA control. So a couple of pictures there of the new and old model. We began to get the upgrade ready for well number 2. Some electrical upgrades have started, and we'll start with the well itself with the installation of a pump and transducer, which includes the pitless adapter and some piping. We spent a good amount of time in March installing, rebuilt a new pumps and lift stations such as 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Lagoon results for March were good. We would expect numbers to go up as usual when the weather gets warm and causes the pond to turn over. Also included in the report is the results for the month of March for water test. That's the water report.
Questions?
I just, the photograph, Jason, that shows the wellhead on the water and sewage report, and you've got it circled. Is it because the wellhead casing is rusting? Like, what is the representation there? Okay. So does that mean we have to replace the wellhead casing?
Usually a sleeve has been put in this one. We put a sleeve on and welded that into place. And
so that's been repaired. Is that what I'm seeing? Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions, and they are all about the same thing. Every month we're getting this lagoon report. And I just wonder, we have 2 lagoons right now, right? And there are different streams of waste going to each one of them.
Correct, yeah.
So the lagoon 2 is the one which is for industrial waste.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Are there any limits on the biological oxygen demand?
There certainly are. You know, anything over the hundreds in the well, like the lagoon effluent, there was a cause for concern, especially when it comes to residential. The limits are a little higher when it comes to the industrial, so they tend to be around the 200, 250. Anything more than that, the well will start, the lagoon would start to, well, die out. It's kind of a living, breathing pond. So those numbers have all been pretty good. We've remained under 200 with the industrial and mostly under 100 with the residential as well.
Okay.
So, you know, for a small community like ours, our lagoons do very well. There's other communities smaller than us, and lagoons are struggling to stay under 1,000 versus, you know, here we are with under 200. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. And with respect to the effluents going out, are there any limits for that?
There are, I'm not sure. Those are like there are certain requirements that we have to let go of the water. And of course, those are quite a bit lower, your intake and your outtake. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what those are off the top of my head right now.
But we meet them hopefully,
Pardon me?
but we meet.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. And we send these reports in the province once a month as well. I shouldn't say once a month, it's every 4 weeks. Because sometimes it's 13 reports we have to send in a year. So every 4 weeks, we send these reports and they are looked at by the Department of Environment and questioned thoroughly. So if their numbers are low, we do get a phone call.
Thank you. Then we move to item 7F, transportation report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So transportation report for the month of March. Garbage cans have been set out for the season. Planters were set out on Brunswick and Main, and garbage is dumped weekly. We're still getting a few more of those trash cans out on Main Street as well. Children playing sign was removed from Mount Pleasant Road, and a street sign was erected at near Roy Jackson on Brunswick. Potholes are being filled in as needed, and the asphalt plants that I have called are opening in May. Spoil from the water leak on Hillcrest Drive was removed from the adjoining vacant lot. Catch basin collapse on Mount Pleasant Road has been repaired, and the curb and gutter added to our repair list for the summer. Contractor has another job in town in June, and so they'll to do with the project with the Coastal Link Trail. This makes it cheaper while they're here. Boat ramp on Portage has been open for the summer, and an old log which was at the site was hauled away. Seat covers and cushions were replaced in the 1-ton. This truck is near the end of its service, but a replacement would take at least a year from ordering. Vehicle 5 was also serviced. The trackless has had some problems with dead shorts caused by salt erosion. Water pump plug and backup alarms were the culprits. But because these are on the circuit with the hydrostatic transmission and fuel shut off, they stop the machine. So something simple as a backup beeper. If it's not the right kind, it can cause the machine to stop. Sediment control fencing was installed next to the vacant lot on Brunswick Street, which was leveled with the road. The 3-door locks in the library were replaced with key-like locks, mostly because of the provincial monies that we received to improve the library. We want to make sure we protect that investment. So let's sit with the transportation report.
Thank you. Question? Okay. No questions. The Reverend is not here, so we can continue with bills paid and payable in principle to March 31st, 2022 in the amount of $204,918. Are there any questions? Okay, we'll start with you.
Okay, so on page 1 of 4, I have the Kelly Chase, number 46527, that says that it was an overpayment refund. So I'm curious if that should say a negative 100 opposed to just a regular 100?
In that case, how it would reflect, it does come up. It's an overpayment, so it was. I'm not sure how it would come up on the report as being a negative, or doesn't really reflect as a positive.
It
But
shows as a positive.
yeah, it's the way we print this report off of just gives us more of a value. It's not an actual like an accounting ledger.
Okay.
But it was an overpayment and refund.
Okay. So the next one is just a couple doors down. It's 26529. It's in regards to the clamshells, the 24/4. We talked about these last month. Did we pay for this just now, or?
Yeah, it would have been in the transportation report for last month.
Yeah.
For the clamshells. Yeah. So we just
paid for them.
Yeah.
Okay. The pallet of cold mix asphalt. Last month, I noticed that we had the expense of $19.83. So we bought a second load.
Second load, yes.
Okay. on the next page, 2 of 4, I noticed that I'm going to have some questions around the Tourist Bureau. What building is that?
The old VIC would be the green building.
At the Day Adventure Center?
Yes.
So
washrooms.
was that building not shut down for the winter?
It was, the interior was left open for the Girl Guides to use.
I thought the Girl Guides used another little building.
They do, it doesn't have a washroom.
Oh, I see. So it costs us up to $400 a month to keep a washroom going?
To keep the water going so it won't freeze, exactly.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, then. The next question I have is around the 7, it's on page 3 of 4, and it's the SLS number 5. Is that this lift station?
Sewage lift station, yep.
Okay, so I noticed that the light bill on that has tripled.
Mhm.
Is it because we have a problem with that lift station?
Usually that's the first sign that there's something wrong with pumps. They continually run. Maybe there's something stuck in it, just the impellers continually run.
So have we investigated this?
We have, and there was an issue with that. So it is, that's what I look for every time I go through the monthly NV Power bills. I'm looking for that bump up to the previous month. And usually that will indicate there's something wrong. We do visuals as well, but sometimes we're not maybe hitting at the right time. It gives us a fair shot of for the whole month. So there was an issue with that SS.
Okay, and so where's 40 Main Street?
40 Main is the old feeding lot. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's that
yeah.
little plug we put in?
What was that?
Is that a plug that we put in last summer? Is that
Yeah,
what that is?
where the plug, yes.
Okay, because we haven't paid, we've only paid that light bill once in 3 months. So I'm just curious, is it
Nice.
just, we just get it every randomly?
We can certainly check in, yeah, we
Hmm?
should be getting it each month.
It's not listed. It's not listed this month and it's not listed. It's not listed in the last month. Okay, so it got shifted. Okay.
Should be, yeah, we'll take a look in. We would want NV Power to,
So then on page, when we go down, we'll go to the next page 1 of 2. I see that we've spent the money on the library computers and the computer equipment. Was that not money that was granted to us from Andrea? Okay, so that's just a in and out?
in and out. Yeah,
Okay.
we have to make a claim for it.
And my last question is around the streetlight acorns. I don't know what the acorns are. We spent almost $1,000 on those. It's the bulb itself?
Globes, yeah.
Oh, the globe. Did they break?
We usually lose 1 or 2. The issue that we're having now with the Main Street streetlights is not so much even the globes now, it's the actual bulbs that we have. It's difficult to find them. So a lot of municipalities now are going to an LED. So we're gonna have to probably look also at some point replacing those streetlights to an LED.
So that I'm clear, we paid $998 for 2 bulbs or
Mhm.
2 globes?
Yeah, it would have been the fixtures. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
that's what I
wow.
counted. Yep.
Keep an eye on those.
Yep.
That's an interesting point that Jason said. Things low pressure sodium,
Yes.
which are old designs. They are the most efficient that have ever been developed by humans. And the reason for which they are becoming obsolete is because people were complaining about their glow in the space. However, they are much more efficient than the LEDs. But everybody stopped manufacturing them. So we are ending up basically throwing something that was a green solution because of other considerations. So anyways, any other question on the report? Okay, in that case, I will ask for a motion to approve the report for bills and paid and payable in principle to March 31st, 2022 for the amount of $204,918. In favor?
Aye.
New business. 9A, setting a public hearing date for bylaw 25B 2020-2202, an amendment of zoning bylaw 25B. Jason?
So this would be for a public hearing. It's one thing we overlooked in the last meeting, and I'll take the blame for that. We have to set a public hearing date for this zoning amendment. So typically what we've done in the past is just made it at 6:30 previous to the next meeting. So we can maybe look at doing something like that, and that would be for the public hearing just for that rezoning. Yeah, that would be next month, the
So,
9th,
you have a date?
May 9th at
May
6:30.
9th. So, are there any questions?
No, because next month's May 9th, 2021. May 9th to 6:30.
Yeah, I believe that's what I saw here somewhere.
So May 9th, 6:30? Okay, so I need a motion to actually set the public hearing date for this item for May 9 at 6:30.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
In favor?
Aye.
And 9B, request for views of PRAC on bylaw 25B 2022-02 and amendment of zoning bylaw 25B. Jason?
Yes, Your Worship. So that was another item that was overlooked in the last meeting. So this would just be the PRAC view for the zoning amendment as well, saying that we do the public hearing on, and we would just be requesting their views.
So any proposed date for that?
No, I would, if council wishes to hear the views of the PRAC, I just need to have a motion and we'll write a letter and ask for their views.
Oh, so it's actually, okay, so I need a motion to send the request to the PRAC.
I make motion to send the request. Right.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
9C, capital projects.
Thank you, Your Worship. So capital projects. So we've tabled out a few different select areas over the last few weeks for capital improvements. As you may recall, last year we did have a capital reserve fund. We put $295,000 in capital reserve fund. On top of that, plus we have about $109,000 for gas tax fund from 2021, and as well $109,000 for gas tax for 2022. And I'll just put a little asterisk next to it. We also have $80,000 sitting that's budgeted for municipal designated highway. So it's a subject in itself that we can look at as well. But excluding the municipal designated highway funds, I think we have just over 500 and I think it's around 515,000. So what we've looked at is project areas for this year is Carlton Street. There's about 250 meters there from School Street to Lateet Road. Armstrong Crescent, that would be Armstrong Crescent. Just keep everyone in mind that there's Armstrong and then there's Prince William. So this would be Armstrong Crescent, basically from end to end, about 350 meters there. Birch Lane, about 150 meters there. Marsh Lane, which is where just near the grocery store, the old part of the Manor Road. And Kennedy Court, part of one of the subdivision of Kennedy Court. We also do some work for the Main Street gazebo. We're going to just put that into this part of the capital projects, possible land acquisition funds, and additional road and property work. So all in total, right now it's $471,417 with just with I guess. Focused projects that we're looking at for 2022. We'll probably have to revisit this list as we learn more about the municipal designated highway and really what the province's final decision is on that. So I guess just at this point, leaving that $80,000 to the side and then possible using that for municipal designated highway. I guess maybe by the next council meeting we may know maybe something that's changed on that. Then we can either earmark that for another project. or something else entirely. So that is basically the list. So a couple things, just need council's approval of this list, but we'll also be looking at the month of May to bring this topic back. We'll have to adjust our gas tax fund projects. Carlton Street, which is in this project, was slated for 2022, but we'll have to make a bit of an adjustment for the 2022 additional work because we didn't do any work last year. So the plans adjusted a little bit. It's just more of a formality with the province and the gas tax fund. But so we'll have to come back to council in May to finalize that project. But so these projects will be going out to tender. We've got some invites ready to go for this week, so we can get underway as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any questions?
When can they start, like after the plants open, the asphalt plants?
Yeah, depending on how quickly we can get back the results for tender. There'll be just a very minimal timeline. We've already engaged a lot of the pavers on some of this work. And because it's changing so rapidly, the price of petroleum is not something we want to wait around much longer for. It's very volatile. So, I'm hoping that we can start this as soon as possible.
I guess I'm a little bit curious. I mean, these amounts that we have approved, and I understand all that, but will we have to revisit this, do you think? Because of the price of asphalt, that's going to change the bottom line here. I heard in the newspaper, 30% already?
Yeah. There's a possibility that, come 4 weeks from now, let's say that, prices are somewhat locked in. And the prices that we have right now most of them are good until the first part of May. So it's trying to quickly get things turned around. Certainly with tendering, I mean, certain construction based on the dollar value kicks in the tendering process. So we have to tender this. So we'll do that and set the limits on timeline to try to get this turned around. And I think even as well for contractors now, I mean, this is the time that they're starting to plan things out. So we want to make sure that we're part of what they're planning for the next few months.
Any other question? So it was just for an update. There's no decision to be made now. So
Yeah, I would ask for council's approval of this list. If they're fine with it, then we can put the tender out tomorrow and
okay.
then go.
I make the motion, we approve the list as stated. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. So tenders will go out tomorrow is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We are moving to item 10, all business, well-filled groundwater under the direct influence Goody study. It was something that we tabled last time and is coming back.
Yes, your worship. So there was, I think there was really no final decision with the Goody work. I think council asked at that point if this was something that most municipalities were aware of or taking part of. And conversations I've had with a few municipalities, a lot of them don't really know this is actually available. And so I think might have spurred on a few more conversations between some municipalities and the province, and that's all fine and good. But this has really been a sort of something new the province is doing respect to the Environmental Trust Fund, covering sort of a preliminary or study around potable water. So is it mandatory? It's not mandatory at this point, but right now the funding is there. By the time I think in the next few years, they're not able to really say when, but they know that it is coming. It's going to be part of a mandatory that every 5 to 10 years you have to have this Goody study done in order for your certification on water. So this will be a box that will need to be checkmarked at some point in order to get your annual water operating license. So right now, where they're paying up to 75%. I'd hate to see us miss the bus, and then we wait a few years down the road, and suddenly it's mandatory, and it's at a total cost to the entity. I guess right now it's we're looking at about well, about maybe $3,000-4,000 at the most for this. $1,300, 13,000. So 75% of that.
So if we get it done, we don't have to worry about it later down the road. There's funding now available.
Yeah.
And our portion is minimal compared to what it would be
Correct.
further down the road. So I say do it.
So it's going to give us a 5-year jump. You said 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the study is good for, they're saying that, if you have to have it done, it'd be good for like 10 years. You'll need 5 years of data. Like, that's why we can't put the well number 6 into the study, because the well is fairly new. It'll probably have to be done at some point, probably once it gets its,
I think, yeah, we
fifth or
had this
6th year of
conversation.
operation. So it's not something necessarily we like to do. I think it's just some of my own, I guess, maybe relationships with folks at the environment, local government that were aware of this study, and we're one of the few to get on the ground floor of this.
Do we have the funds?
So it's unbudgeted funds. That's why we're here, I guess. We never really like to go to unbudgeted with water and sewage. We've talked about this before, and it's just a tight budget when it comes to water systems. When it comes to our general fund, we could typically find money. There's lots of funds out there that help with that side of the house. Our water is a system that seldomly gets any revenue into it except for ratepayers. So having an option like this where we can actually get 75% paid for on something that we're going to need it's favorable. But at the same time, spending $3,000, $4,000 is just a lot of money to do. But I guess at this point, what do we do, right? We wait, don't spend the money, and then we're having to spend $13,000 later on.
I have a question. This kind of study, would it be necessary for, say, a well owner who runs Tim Hortons or whatever?
No, this is because of just the large volume of water that we use. Ratepayers in this town expect us to operate a water that's healthy, a water system that's healthy for them.
Okay.
We take on that liability of producing that water. So,
Okay.
and a lot of this is to ensure that we've looked at the surface. So often, a lot of times, what we do with our well studies is we look at the aquifer of how much water can be drawn off from beneath the ground, and really, where we have some density, especially along Riverview Avenue, it's important to understand, the groundwater and how that impacts things.
Can I ask you a supplementary question? You said one well will not be part of the goodie.
Number 6.
Number 6. Is that 6,000 or whatever it is? You mentioned what?
3 to 5.
3 to 5 is our share.
3 to 4.
Yeah, the total is about 14.
13.
Yeah.
13.
13, yeah. So is that proportional to the number of wells, or is it kind of a flat thing?
No, it's proportionate number of wells.
Okay,
Yeah.
so essentially, if we're going to have one more well, it's going to be like a fraction of that.
Yes.
I guess we can actually have a motion if you want to do it or not. Anybody wants to move that?
I'll move and see where it goes. I'll move that we do the study.
Second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? No. So you got your goodie. Correspondence. Letter from Fundy Middle and High School.
Yeah, so in the council packages and distributed to council, just a request for fundraising from Fundy Middle and High School.
So essentially, for this cause that they outline here, essentially a maker space, a collaborative space within the school where students can make, learn, share, etc., etc. they are seeking for a prize or a donation. Do you have any questions about the request, first of all?
Is that the total they want? Or is that just,
The total.
the goal is 5,000, do they just need 5,000 or do they
I
not
think it's the
want?
goal.
That's the
The goal
total.
is 5,000.
I think it's the goal, yeah. Do you have any money coming to us from various things that they would be eligible? Like some community fundraising that are coming to us and.
They've done a lot of their own fundraising for this. There's nothing that they've come to us and said that they want us to partner to levy their fundraising to get more provincial money. I believe they are working with the MLA's office on some funding. I think they're just looking to get a grand total increase. This is more or less the standard fundraising request. As far as our own, I mean, we have our budgeted lines for such community events or community fundraising. And I think that at this point we probably have. I think we may have maybe $500. And I think there's.
We have $500.
We may have
total.
utilized it all. Just kind of. I think we have. So. I was just going through my head. I don't really recall at this point really what we had left. I know we did our motions early in the year for the fundraising, and I think at that point, and then there was another request that had come through to basically use the remaining funds of that budget.
They could put their name in for to get.
This is what I meant.
Yeah. So
Right
yeah,
now-
that's correct. The gold rush is June. It would be coming out the first part of June.
They could always apply to put their name in for that.
And their online auction right now seems to be doing quite well. I don't know, like, it's not when it's finished, but
So essentially, yeah, they set up a time here, April 7th to April 10th, which is gone, I think, no? Yeah, it's gone. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
yesterday.
yesterday. Okay. So, and we have $500 this year only.
Now that I looked at Council Armstrong, I think that we have drained that fund with another ask that came in after the fundraising, after the budget was.
So one option is to table it and revisit it when the gold rush things come, if they apply for them.
Yeah, I don't think really probably even tabling it, but I guess we can certainly, go back to them and recommend that they keep an eye out, and we can certainly at the town hall, keep them updated when that intake comes.
So if everybody agrees, and for information only.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, the next item is the letter from Mr. Glenn Larson. And go ahead, Jason, introduce.
Mr. Larson is the owner of an apartment building on Main Street, and many people in the residents, I'm sure non-residents, are familiar with this building. A number of years ago, 2017, I believe, there was a graffiti artist that did side of the building, and he's looked at other murals in Sussex and St. Andrews, and was wondering if maybe it's a chance to maybe do a refresh. To kind of bring them on board with like the Sussex and St. Andrews of what they've done. So certainly, that's something we can look into. I could certainly, reach out to those communities to find out who the artist was and look at a possible cost of that. And there's various different programs that come up, whether it's through through nonprofits or through the province for doing those type of improvements. But I think, if we want to start from there, just getting some costing of what it would cost to redo that building over. Maybe it's council's wish that maybe that building is fine and looks great. I think, when the building owner is now to the point where he's like, I'd like to see something different. He came to an agreement to leave it there for a number of years. And I think we're probably at, I think we're well over 5 years where that is now. So I think it's, I think maybe we probably do is get something a little bit more in writing to say that, if we did another mural, probably stay for a lot longer than maybe 5 or 10 years. I'd be looking at doing 20 year, but
So is it the case of the building needing another coat of paint?
it's a little of that. And I think that, just looking at what some other communities have done, if you've gone to Sussex and you see the murals there, it's a different type of art.
Yes, yes.
Yes, this would be like, graffiti art, which is, I guess some people find that's interesting and, certainly unique. Those communities don't have graffiti art, so I guess that's the flip side of this. But, I guess he's just asking us to take a look to see if there are options for putting a different mural there.
Could we contact our MLA to see if there's any funding out there any grants that we could get that would help defer the cost?
We can do that. And I think it's important to, probably look at how much it actually would cost to
Yeah,
be
find out the
redone.
cost and find out if our MLA would be agreeable to finding out if there's something community oriented that
Yep.
we could get money for.
Did the town commission the current mural?
Yes, we did. It was paid for. Yeah, there was a fund that was received to pay for that. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, you can take upon you to actually make some inquiries
Yes.
and,
Yep.
we'll execute it, yeah. Okay,
So would we communicate with the building owner just to let him know that we are moving forward
Correct.
with some information?
Yeah.
and I will move to item 11C, the letter from Mr. Brian Tatton. Jason,
And so it's just another correspondence from Mr. Tatton, just voicing his displeasure of some road conditions. Namely, he points out the section that's in front of the grocery store here on Brunswick Street. And as council may be aware, that is certainly slated for repair this year. I think there may have been just more of a question on timing. He felt maybe it was more of an immediate 24-hour like turnaround, but certainly, we don't want to add anything to that section that would be more of a motor vehicle safety issue. Concrete in holes or putting a bunch of sand on the road would only cause more of a concern there. And so we have worked with the landowner and the tenant in that area. We'll be scheduling a repair. So trying to work on a timeline for that right now. It's never a good time to do the work in front of the only grocery store in Eastern Charlotte. So it's just trying to work on a timeline.
so it will require the closure of the mall?
No, it would be probably outside of operating hours for the grocery store, just because it would require us to shut down the entrance to the grocery store to do this work. So it looks like it's an easy fix that a person can do, but it does require more than just putting a patch on it. It does require to actually cut out that section and grade it properly and apply asphalt. So I wish some things were easy to fix and we could do them within the 24-hour turnaround, but sometimes there are things that are complicated. But I guess, I guess this letter came through correspondence with council directly. So, maybe it's, Mr. Mayor could respond back and say that, it's going to be addressed or certainly we at the town hall can do that too.
Do you have a time to give him?
We really don't. It's dependent on really the asphalt plants opening, which he did outline in the letter, that when would the work be done. It does require the asphalt plant to be open to transport asphalt in. So I don't think we have an actual firm date on that as of yet, but and as well when the grocery store can, when we can work with them.
So there are two aspects here. One is to actually establish some sort of a coordination with a grocery store. And secondly, to actually establish a tentative schedule for when asphalt is coming.
Correct.
So when can you have that information? So I can pass it on to him and.
Yeah, maybe by the end of this week, we can
By the end of the
check. By the end of this week, we'll have some information back from the asphalt plant of when they're proposed to be open.
And you can have a talk with Daniel and.
Yes, yeah, at the grocery store.
Okay. And you can also draft a letter from me.
Sure.
Okay, good. Okay, any other comment on that? No. Public presentations. No one wants to present. We don't have still the Reverend coming, yeah? So she's not coming.
No, I did receive an email from her. Unfortunately, looks like there was some communication issues. So she will we'll put the invitation out for her to come to May's meeting
Okay.
and
Okay.
see how that goes.
So we're moving on to item 13, which are the statements by member of the council. This time I'm going to start from the right.
Okay, everyone for coming this evening. Also, just to let the community know that the music hopefully will be starting on June the 2nd on Thursday. And come May will be the lineup. I'll have the lineup for the whole summer.
For Ukraine is a very good event. Deputy Mayor Rayner and several other people organized that as well attended. It was very good. Attended.
Family Fun Days, July, third week in July, July 18th to the 24th. Have had lots of interest, have had lots of volunteers and more information to come. Stay tuned.
I just want to thank everybody who turned out for our Night for Ukraine. We had a wonderful variety of stuff to eat. And special thank you to everybody who donated. And we raised 7,330, which is amazing to me. And the need will be there for a long time to come. And we know that. And we know we have some Ukrainians who will be coming here. And we will do more fundraising in the future.
Thank you. Councilor Dorakis.
I forgot to mention it when we were talking in the governor, as in the general government reports, but it should be on the record as well that the garden boxes are also for free, with the exception of the deposit for the key. Also, I want to just mention that I did make a video recently on Facebook detailing just the wonderful events that we've held at the Macadavic the last few months. And actually, James Hanley reached out to me today and he said, it was great fun and good exercise, good work. I would like to thank the town of St. George for letting us, the seniors, use the Macadavic Place to try this out. Most of us would like to do this more often.
Great. Councilor Armstrong.
It was nice to see the traffic data on Riverview Avenue, and I know that it's been moved as of today. Knowing now that we have the opportunity of a camera on this piece of equipment, my question is whether or not we would be able to have access to this information from the RCMP. How many speeders over 20 kilometers has been photographed and identified?
So we will get back the data. It will be shared. It's sent to the town as well, copied to the RCMP. So they'll have the same reports that we will.
Okay. I'm
Whether
excited
they'll
to
take
get
something with
that.
that, I don't know what the if it's admissible, if it's something they can use for levying speeding tickets. But it's certainly something that's a new feature on that sign. So what we do with the pictures.
Just to play the devil's advocate.
You never do.
Oh, I always do. We have forgotten that we do not have front license plates on all New Brunswick cars now. Just like I said, I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
We are aware.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Hogan, playing the devil's advocate. And I guess my final word belongs to me. And the only thing I want to say is that everybody should be aware that we are a special council because we are on the road to extinction as a town, and everybody should understand some limitations that we are having. Oh my God. I did not plan to do that thing today, but I will do. Let me finish what I had. And I want to say that a big challenge that we are having, and I want the residents to understand, is that being in the special state that we are to be a council in dissolution of the town, we have certain limitations about our ability to do certain things, like, for example, getting into debt to do certain things, capital improvements. But one thing that's very important, and we have discussed several times, is the situation on Mount Pleasant Road, which is an interprovincial highway, which is in great need of repair, which is used by children anytime they do an emergency exercise and they have to walk next to large transport trailers to go to the transport garage. So I intend to actually personally write also to the minister and the Minister of Education to tell them that this has been identified several years, was coming year after year after year and deferred. And now for first time, it was dropped out of the list, and other municipal highways which are not in that bad shape and do not have such a critical importance to our community have been chosen. So a letter is going to be going out hopefully tomorrow, if Jason is able to fill it up among the many other things that he has to do. And I hope that something can be done this summer. And since Chris brought to me this very important paper, I thought that there must be a town crier who actually should be saying these things, but it's a proclamation that John Datorakis, the last mayor of St. George, is gonna proclaim now. And that is in the year 1904, the town of St. George was organized as a municipal incorporation in accordance with the Towns Incorporation Act of 1886 in the province of New Brunswick. As a celebration of our historic heritage and recognition of our final year of incorporation, on April 23, 2022, the town will set apart the annual celebration of St. George Day as a commemorative event. And there are some other wonderful things said here, which says, whereas the leaders of this community endeavored upon the task of incorporation and resolved to adopt an identity in honor of its heritage, and whereas the town was named after St. George, an enduring image of courage and strength, and whereas the town of St. George will cease as an incorporated entity at the end of 2022, and whereas an occasion inspires a community to reflect upon and celebrate its many years of history and influence, therefore, be it resolved that I, John Datorakis, mayor of the town of St. George, New Brunswick, do hereby proclaim the 23rd day of April 2022 as St. George Day in the town of St. George, of course. And in witness thereof, I have here under to set my hand and cause the seal of the town. Where is the seal? It's in the town. I'm going to get in it tomorrow, but for the time being, I'm going to sign it. And that is, that's all I'm going to say as my final statement. Thank you very much all for coming. And I need to meet the judge. Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I was too inspired. Okay. Thank you.